Hello and welcome to Relly's Reviews. And so, what are we reviewing today? Married to Medicine. And I know I have not been reviewing episode 1 and 2, but look, your girl got things going on. But we're at episode 3. And so, I've been wanting to do reviews for a while and I've kind of dibbled and dabbled, but I wasn't really sure about how I was going to do them and what was that going to look like. And I think right now, just starting out, I want to talk about the things that stuck out to me. So, for episode 3, I have two things that stuck out: Contessa's birthday and her issues in her marriage, and Dr. Simone going off about her children. And so I don't know which one we'll start with. I got the most about Contessa, so let's go. All right. So the issue is this. Contessa's thing, she starts out in this 70s outfit and she has Brandy coming to look at the place that she wants to have her event. And so she says, I waited almost 50 years to throw myself a party or have someone throw one for me. And it didn't happen. So she says, and I'm doing this on my own by myself. And kudos to you, sis. Um, so now the party happens. And she said this to Brandy, and then she also said it to Toya. And so she had Toya there when the people and the planners were setting everything up. And so she said her budget was $40,000. I thought Toya falling over at the price was quite interesting because Toya through the years has been the one that has thrown the lavish parties and people have been like, girl, what is you doing? Because you don't work. So for Toya to be the one to say, Contessa, girl, what is you doing? Because $40,000 is a lot of money. And Contessa says, look, I work hard. I want to play hard. I could afford it. So let's do it. So they do. We get to the party. Toya, being a friend to Contessa, says something snarky and shady to Scott. And so she's like, yeah, I just love all that y'all do and all the parties y'all throw for these wives. And Scott is like, I think Curtis is like, yeah, she's throwing shade. And so Scott's like, yeah, she is throwing shade. But he's like, whatever. So in the confessional, Scott says, you think I care about these hens and what they talking about? And Contessa is laughing. The problem here is that Contessa is saying one thing to the women and another thing to her husband. And listen, I understand. I understand when you just having girl talk and how you think that that's a safe space. And you never think that your girlfriends are then going to say whatever it is that you said about your spouse to your spouse. And there can be a couple of reasons. It could be a hot button issue. Um, Maybe that's something that you have shared with him previously and he kind of poo-pooed it. And so typically it doesn't feel safe. I think that that's what happens. We talk to our girlfriends when it doesn't feel safe to have that very conversation with our husband. And that's what it looks like. Who else did that? Someone, oh, Bronwyn from the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City does that as well. I was just watching back her first season on last season. And so she had confided about all her marital business to the women. And then they got to the reunion and she was like, well, kind of, sort of, maybe, perhaps. And I think sometimes this is why we think that women are more vulnerable with one another. And so side note, I'm gonna go left. I promise I'm gonna come back right. I've had conversation with my partner about whether or not men and women can have the same vulnerability and the same type of friendship. And at one point in my life, I absolutely thought like women, we are connected and men just cannot touch our connection. But that really isn't true. We see that in other places. Men absolutely are able to have relationship, friendship, brotherhood in the same way that women are able to have relationship and sisterhood. So it's not fair to say men and women don't, because we do. But I just think if Contessa is not comfortable sharing with Scott, and so that when he's going off about the women and she doesn't say, well, actually, I told her that, she ain't having no real conversation with Scott. So that's part of the issue. So that's what stuck out to me. So then we get to the outside and oh, sorry. I'm sorry. I'm looking at my notes. So prior to that, um Heavenly is talking in the party to the new girl from New Orleans. I just love a New Orleans accent. Like, I just love it. And I can spot it a mile away. And I just love, love, love it. And so Heavenly's like, yeah, y'all can't keep no man. Y'all ain't doing this and y'all ain't doing that. And so the nurse, she's the nurse practitioner. And so she's like, well, for the right man, I'll do those things. And I think it just highlights that men seem to always be the focal point. And why are we having conversation about y'all can't keep no man? If these are all the things that it takes for me to keep a man, then I don't want it. That's the thing. I'm finding in a lot of spaces and a lot of places that I am in conversations that are being had, and society, I think, gives that message again that we need to be focused on how to keep a man. How come we're not having conversation about how to keep a woman? And the truth of the matter is, I don't want to get into this fight about men versus women, because the truth of the matter is we are equal and we need each other. Period. We were meant to be together, or we're meant to have helpmate. And so whatever that helpmate looks like, that's what it is. And it's not, oh, what, because, and now I've really gone off and I'm really going even further left, but I promise I'm gonna come back right. So it seems that we have made relationships transactional. Jolie, please put her up. Thank you. Excuse me. I'm sick of her. My dog. Just anytime I get on here, then that's when she want to start. But listen, this is just my life. This is what it is. And when I decided that I was going to show up and have a thing, you going to get what it is. And this is what it is. So hello. Okay. And hopefully we'll get to the point where I will be here in my pajamas, because that's just what it is that I want to do. That's how I want to show up. But anyhow, I went a little bit left and now I'm really coming back. But anyway, we have these conversations about relationship, and then we go, well, he needs to be a provider, and if he was a provider, then I would do these things. And then men say, well, I'm providing, so I'm expecting X, Y, and Z. We are making these relationships transactional. We're saying, oh, well, if you give this, then I give that. That's transactional, and that it should not be the goal of relationships. So no, it is not necessarily I'm gonna do these things as long as he's doing these things. That's transactional. And you can outsource all of those things, both men and women. And that really is kind of where we're starting to get. Men are going, well, I want my wife to cook, clean, and be ready for whatever it is that I want when I get home, because I do X, Y, and Z. And so then you don't want a wife, you want a house engineer. Is that what they're called? You want somebody that you could pay that service for. You want a maid, a domestic engineer. That's what they're called. You want a domestic engineer. And you want a nanny, and you want an assistant. Those are the things that you want. And then, you want a sex worker. If those are the things that you are going to give a certain amount of money towards, and that's what is expected. And women, same thing. If you're looking for just somebody, to a sugar daddy essentially, and these are the things that you'll perform, then it's transactional. And so, Sherelle, what then should we look for in relationship? The things that you want. Be aligned on those things. I don't like to cook. I don't like to, I'm not someone who I could care less about what this house look like, for real. It's not dirty. It may be junky, but it's not dirty. So I outsource. There is someone that washes my clothes. I don't care nothing about it. Wash all these clothes, my clothes, his clothes, our clothes. I don't care. I don't want to do much cleaning. So there is someone that comes in for that as well. And I don't like cooking. So I don't. And we eat out a lot. And that is something that he's okay with. And so am I. And if he wasn't here, that is still the lifestyle that I want to live. And that's the way that I would live, period. So that works for us. And if you like, I know some people that really enjoy motherhood, they really enjoy cooking, and they really homemaking. That's really their jam. Then that's what it should be. Do the things that you want to do, and not the things that are expected because we are in certain roles, because I'm the wife and you're the husband. Let's stop that transactional talk. So this idea about y'all can't keep no man, if those are the things, if I gotta cook and clean and lay on my back when he wants it, then I'm not interested in keeping no man. I'm very comfortable to not have one. Very fine. And so I think we need to get away from that narrative. So okay, boom. Now that we got that out of the way, see, that went left and now I'm coming back right. Okay, here we go. So then what happened? So then they go outside and now they're asking, Contessa girl, what this guy do this? What's guy did? And so she then flips it and is like, why are we being so, what she said? Um, what did she say? Hold on. She says, oh, that's what I say that she rationalized her party. And so she's saying, well, I don't know that if I would have asked him to do a party that he would have been able to do what it is that I'm doing. Jolie, can you put her outside, please? Thank you. Because she just determined whether she gonna come walk in here. I think, you know what it is? I think she hear me talking. And so she's like, oh, I want to be in there with my mom. No, girl, get out of here. And she's ginormous and you'll see her at some point. But anyway, so Contessa says, I don't think that he would have thrown the party that I would have wanted him to throw. Like if he would have thrown something in the backyard, I don't know that I really would have wanted that. That's not what you said, sis. You said that you were always waiting for someone to throw you a party. So Toya said, well, if that's the case, if that's how you felt, why then didn't you tell him I want my party to look like this and have that and so on and so forth? And expect him to do it. And she said, well, he's used to me performing, he's used to me handling shit. And essentially, that's what I did. I think that's what he was waiting on. So now that's the real story. You didn't trust him to do it. And sometimes here's the thing, and I got to have a conversation with my women, and really some of it is couples and men feel the same way, but also I hear it a lot more from women, and I want to say they're not mind readers. And if you want him to do something, then you have to tell him, you have to set the bar and the expectation. This is what I want. I want it to look like this. And when he does it, be happy. Or again, if you wanted a backyard party, because we find out later that she said the day after her party, she had people come over and she cooked all night long in order to have this stuff ready. You could have catered that, or you could have thrown it over there to him through the ball and passed it and said, you handled the after party at the house. But you can't get mad if you tell him to do something and then you take it back from him and you don't allow him to do it. If you set the bar here and then you don't allow him to reach the bar, how can you be upset with him? And Scott seemingly is oblivious to what it is that you're looking for. Now, so that tells me that the communication that you're having is not effective. So if you're telling him, he's not hearing you, and then that's a problem. So you guys need to do more communication. You know what I'm saying? So effective. I could be honest. I said that I would. So when my marriage was ending, we were in court at the courthouse in the in the courtroom speaking to the judge, and he said, I don't even know why we're here. I nearly fell over. What you mean you don't know why we're here? So I'm saying that I understand I was not effectively communicating to my ex about where we were, where we went wrong, and how we got here. He was oblivious and I was furious. So we were effectively miscommunicating. It wasn't effective. We were not hearing each other. We're doing this. We did not do this. So that's essentially what is going on. And so Contessa, trying, on the one hand, she's complaining, and then on the other hand, she then sticks up for him. And that's the part that's very confusing. And so then she turns it like, oh, why would this patriarchal thing? You guys are at my party. Why are we talking about my husband? Because you talked about your husband. That's why we're talking about your husband, because you brought it up. It'd be very different if you were silent about what was going on. You kept that, close to the vest and told maybe your bestie, but you didn't do that. You told these catty women, oh, I wish this. You throw these offhanded comments, they pick up on them, and then you're surprised that that's the conversation that's taking place. So Simone says, and I love Simone for this, and it's true. She says, we've set the bar real low. We teach them how to treat us. And I can't tell you how many women that I have had and I've come across as clients that they want their husbands to do more. And I go, okay, well, did you let him do it? No, because he doesn't do it the way I want him to do it. Well, girl, you got to pick your struggle, sis. If you want help, let's say with cooking, if you go, you know what, I need you to cook 3 meals a week because I'm just so tired. And he says, okay, baby, if he bring you Frank's beans and rice because it's a meal, go ahead and eat that. Go ahead and eat it. You asked for something and he gave you something. And you can't get upset at what he's giving you, especially if you've asked for the help. You asked for it. And so to Contessa, if you're saying, Scott, I want you to throw me a party, and he threw you a backyard party, be happy about the party. And you could say, this year, I want a party and I want you to handle it. This is what I'd like. Here's the number to the party planner, or whatever the case may be. And I'll be honest, sometimes, lady, we get crazy and then we say, but I want him to want to do it. Well, it's not in him. He ain't thinking about it. That ain't the thing he want to do. So we also can't get upset that we want something from them and we have to tell them what it is that we want, because we do speak different languages. If gift giving and, real sentimental gifts or gestures isn't his thing, he ain't going to magically do that because that's the thing that you want, especially if you don't tell him how important it is to you. So we have to effectively communicate and our needs and our wants. We have to do that. So there's that, which I say a lot, so get used to that. So now, and I just want to jump because it's all in the same thing. It's not according to chronological order of the show in the way that it aired, but since we're on this issue with Contessa, so now we get to Brandy's dinner. P.S. Brandy don't look 42. She look 42 to y'all. Now I'm starting to see it like, yeah, black don't crack, because that don't look 42. She definitely looked like she's in her 30s. Eat down, Miss Brandy. So now we get to Brandy's dinner, and Brandy's saying, look, my man, my man, my man. And Contessa seemingly is like, what's this? Why you so thankful to your man? Oh, Contessa, don't do that. Don't do that. That you look crazy when you were doing that. And then like, I'm underwhelmed. And why you being so thankful? Wait, if someone does something nice for you, even as small as it is, and that could mean the world to her, why are you shitting on her husband and what he got going on and what he's doing? And so this, if he did this, I'd be underwhelmed. Ooh, I was like, "Ooh, girl, your slip is showing." It did look like you were projecting big time. That's all it looked like. Because again, I know that you have great emotional intelligence. So I can't understand how you didn't see that that was shady boots, and really for no reason. And she can be happy that her man said, gather your friends round and I'm going to take care of it. You're going to have a good night out on me. What's wrong with that? Mine does it constantly. So if I'm going out with the girls, he goes, go treat yourself and do your thing. That's really, really nice. And I appreciate that. Thank you. That is all. So for someone else to go, because this isn't even a party, and I threw the party that I wanted to throw, and then she got her money, and so she made it and moved the goalpost, which was the other tell, Contessa, because to say, I got money, I could pay for this, I got access to the bank account, it's shared. That ain't the conversation. That wasn't what we were talking about. The conversation started with why you gotta be so thankful that your husband threw this, because that's her husband and she's proud of her husband and the gesture. That's what she cared about. It was the gesture. And you seemingly said it was the gesture, the lack of gesture that Scott did. When you were cooking, that's what you revealed at the table, that you had cooked the next day. You said Scott was out smoking cigars. You want him to show up differently, sis, and there's nothing wrong with that, right? However, you have to communicate that to him, and you have to let him know what doing more for you looks like, what him showing up for you looks like. Maybe he's thinking, well, I'm not saying anything about the $40,000 that she's spending, knowing we trying to build this building or whatever. It might compute very differently to Scott, but you have to tell him, and to shit on your friend is crazy, like for real. And again, it wasn't even about the money. And Brandy was right. Whoa, you not finna talk and downplay what my husband got going on for me and mine. And she absolutely and very right. So that is what was going on. Um, yeah. So I'm just looking over my notes, making sure I got it all. Mm-hmm. Okay. That's what she says. Why is it why do we always make it paternalistic about, paternalistic, and I think, yeah, the patriarchy, patriarchal, for why are we talking about men? But we talking about men because you brought it up. She's excited about her husband. And so that's not patriarchal, and that's not what is at stake. That's not the issue at hand here, darling. But then she says something, really, now she starts to get a little vulnerable, and she says, "We've been together 20 years and I'm hoping that," and she says, "if I focus on all of the negative, then I'm going to end up like my girlfriends out here single. So is it that you just don't want to be single? Or is it that, you know, are you settling, in your marriage?" And it's not necessarily focusing on the negative, but if it's negative and you want to change it around, you need to focus on it, shine a spotlight on it, like get that spotlight and shine it on there. Hey, this isn't working for me. That's how you're going to get what you want in 30 years. Because she says, we've been together 20 years, and I hope that the things that I've been asking for, that he'll give me when we get to 30. If it hasn't worked in 20 years, what makes you think it's gonna work in 30? And then Simone pipes in, and Simone says, "Girl, 29, and it's the same." And that tells you there's miscommunication, and that's where you have to do your work. And it's just like that. You're a doctor, and so there's an infection brewing in the marriage. And if you don't get to that infection, it starts to spread. And then at some point you have to amputate, or you run the risk of, losing the leg. And so if you don't get to that infection and that problem and that negative thing in your marriage, and you get to it now, and you got to go through it. That's the only way to get to the other side of it. You got to go through it, and you got to go in there. Surgical precision. I don't like that you don't show up for me. I don't like that for the past 15 years, I've been saying that I want you to throw me a birthday party and you have yet to do it. I don't like that when I threw myself a party and then we had the thing the next day, that you didn't bother to help, or you didn't bother to have it catered, or so on and so forth. And allow him to say why he didn't know, or whatever the case may be. Don't jump down his throat. Just tell him, I'll give you. Hey, when I ask you for a birthday party or to make a big deal about me and you don't, I feel dismissed. I feel like you don't care. I feel like you're not paying attention to me. Give the I message and wait for him to give a response. He may say, "Babe, you are right. I didn't know. And moving forward, I'm going to do better. Tell me how you would like me to do it. Tell me." Or he may say, "Babe, can you give me the number to the party planner?" Allow him, but don't take it from him because he's not doing it the way that you want him to do it. It's just like with your kids. When I was teaching them how to wash the dishes, yo, any of y'all know how to do it? Or even, as a matter of fact, I had someone today say that their kid is 10 years old and doesn't know how to tie their shoes. And they said they are tying their kids' shoes. So you are tying your kids' shoes at 10. And part of that is because it's just easier for me to do it than it is to watch you fumble through it. And it's the same thing with our spouses. They don't always get it. You have to give them time. And it's not going to look the way that you want it to look, but you have to give them time. But if you swoop in and you always do it, you're going to have a 10-year-old that don't know how to tie their shoes. You're going to have a husband of 20 years that still is not able to give you the things that you want in year 30, i.e. Simone. So that's what you have to do. That's how you do it. That's how you repair it. That's how you fix it. Okay. And shitting on other people, that's not how you do it. And so with Simone, same thing. If she and Simone and Cecil were on the verge and the brink of divorce, and it was beautiful to watch those Married to Medicine ladies. I told you, here she come. Look, here she come. This is what she wanted. She want to be in here. To watch those Married to Medicine ladies swoop in and help them save their marriage was wonderful. And so they're 29 years in, and Simone is at her breaking point, but I don't know if she was able to effectively communicate to Cecil what it is that she needed. But you know we finna talk about them next, right? But the last thing is that Quad caught the stray. Like, I could have a Rolls Royce and not have a ring. Whoa, 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 whoa. And I don't know, maybe this will be the next topic. I don't know. Y'all will let me know if this is something that you want to talk about, which is, why do we allow for this hierarchical ranking system of relationships? We put marriage up here as top tier, and we put, relationship, just dating or going together, whatever you want to call it, beneath it. Why? It's the same. I'm going to show up the same way in my relationship where we're just dating or we're boyfriend and girlfriend, the same way I'm going to show up in relationship in my marriage. It's the same. I'm just as committed. I'm no less committed. The only difference about marriage is that it's harder to get out of. Look at what's going on with Candy. She married Todd, right? Gotta have the marriage. She married Todd, and now it seems like he's trying to come, and break up that prenuptial agreement. I know you lying. I know that you are lying. There are lies being told. Todd, now, damn it. And I was really rooting for y'all. We ain't talking about y'all, but I just had to. I went left. I'm back here. Okay. My point is, why is it that we are okay to do that? Quad seemingly is happy in her relationship. You over here talking about you 20 years in and you still unhappy in your marriage. Sis, make that make sense. As an outsider and a bystander, I'm saying, ooh, that don't look so good and I wouldn't sign up for it. And what's the difference? Oh, I got access. Okay, I can have access. We can have a joint bank account. What we talking about? We ain't talking about nothing. What you talking about? What's the difference? Nothing. So stop that. And, to throw Quad and Quad, like she said, was married. And when the shit didn't work for her, you know what Quad did? She left. So when you start throwing, because that seems like a jab, and that's Quad said, oh, well, it's other people at the table that are married and don't want to be, right? And clock that, because you over here complaining about this husband, for which you've been complaining about that husband. So wait now, Contessa, don't do that. And I really like you, Contessa. I really, really do. Don't do that. Don't throw the jabs. But guys, drop down in the comments if you want to talk about why you think that marriage, do you think marriage is higher than, better than, people like to, oh, but I'm the wife. So, and what's that mean? I'll tell you, after 10 years in a day, you get your marital portion of the pension, right? Those are the things that you get. Yeah, you get a discount on your insurance when you're married. That's about it. Especially, and I'm thinking, like, what are some of the, and your insurance, your car insurance? I'm trying to think of, like, what are the other benefits of marriage? So yeah, I don't see any, especially for someone like myself. I'm not super religious, so I could care less. I'm still gonna go to the good place when I die. So I'm not worried about burning in hell or anything like that. I ain't worried about that. That's not happening. And I'm gonna have the real good premarital sex. And I'll tell my daughters to do the same. Going out there and see if you are sexually compatible, saving it for what? That's another conversation. I don't know if the people are ready for that, but I went left. Let me go ahead and leave that alone. But maybe we'll have a further conversation about that. Which brings me to my thoughts about Simone. So the other point that came up for me with Simone was the breakdown between her and the children. Let me tell you something, okay? First of all, I see a lot of myself in Simone. So let me start out by saying that Simone is a yeller. I was a yeller, so I get it and I understand. So they all have the dinner. And little Michael, while Miles and Cecil are in the kitchen, Simone and Mike are having conversation. He's like, I got that Jeep when I was, for high school, out of high school or whatever. And he's like, I was doing all right, but I know I'm tired of looking at it. I'm sure you're tired of looking at it. So you're getting ready to grease her up and ask her for a new car. And so now they start talking about, what are your plans, after college? And so he's like, well, I kind of was thinking the bank of mom and dad. So Simone's like, okay, hold on. Let me go get, some facts and some figures. And the Miles is already defeated. He's like, oh, hell, here we go. He got his head down. He's like, never mind. So Miles is already done. He's checked out. And Mike is still, ready to engage. He's like, okay, come on, like bring it on. So Simone says that that Michael's chase bill was $60,000 in a year, on top of taking care of his school bill. So she bought him a car. He had $60,000 to spend just in this year, and he had rent and rent was paid for. He had a place to stay. So none of those things did he have to worry about. He had $60,000 to play with. He had a $60,000 allowance. Some people don't make $60,000. My case managers who have bachelor's degrees don't make $60,000 a year. And Mike just got that just because he's a doctor's kid. So now he's like, and the part that took me out, here it goes. And he was like, but what about those white people whose kids go to school, come out with no debt and become millionaires? And she's like, okay, but what about the ones that don't? And there are plenty that don't. And Cecil chimes in and says, well, and no. So Simone says, wait, I'm the only one here with a postgraduate degree. And you know how I got there? Scholarships and loans. And so Mike is like, well, but that's when he said about the white people. And Cecil's like, Mike does have a point. We are blessed. Yo, I get it. I get it. And I got it. And I essentially, I know I would have been Simone. I know it. I know, especially in my old days, I'd have flipped my wig. Because here's the deal. It's not that Mike or Miles came to her with a plan. He didn't say, okay, well, I'm gonna apply for X number of scholarships. Oh, that's what he said. Cecil making the plea for Mike and goes, well, he says, he tells me he thinks about it every day about how he's gonna repay you. Yo, I would have wanted to slap Cecil in the mouth. What? Cecil, shut up right now. See, that could be true if he came to me with a plan about what law school was going to look like. I'm going to get a part-time job. I'm going to work in a law office. I applied for some scholarships, a lot of them. I was thinking I'd take out a loan. Maybe you could co-sign. None of that came to the table. So you're not really then thinking about how you're going to repay me. You're thinking about how you're going to coast for another 3 to 4 more years. Absolutely not. So when Simone, now she's yelling, and what did she say? She said, who here is concerned about me? And she said, ain't nobody here concerned about me. And Cecil's like, what? Where did that come from? Cecil, where did that come from? And she's like, it came from my heart. Again, that tells me there's not effective communication. And the boys, I don't know, were they defeated because she was shutting their shit down? And she's like, get out of here. I'm not paying for grad school. So your mama. Or were they just waiting and anticipating how this was going to go because Simone's a yeller and, they were waiting for the tick, tick, boom. So I don't know, what that breakdown was or it felt like for them, but essentially they shut down. And I could see it being a mixture of both. I could see it being one or the other. Simone's a yeller. We've known that. Simone's always yelling. And I say that I see a lot of myself in Simone. I do, because I used to be a yeller. And I realized it's just that the emotions come over and it just feels good to let it out at the top of my lungs. It's like a release. Now, I understand that that is not healthy emotion regulation. That's terrible, which I don't do that anymore. I have to breathe and I have to take time and I get very, very quiet. And sometimes I go, oh, you know what? My anger cues, they're coming up. I cannot have this conversation right now. I'm overstimulated and I can't do it. We have to table this until another time. But Simone telling Michael that she understands just how entitled he is. Yes. You don't think your mother could use an additional $60,000 to do what, that could be a bag. And she gets to do that. And this idea, what, like, I didn't ask to be here. Whoa, 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 whoa. That's fine. None of us asked to be here. And some of us got dealt crappy hands, and some of us got dealt amazing hands. And that's all wonderful. But as your parent, my job is to provide food, shelter, and clothing. The law says until 18. Some states say until 21. And nobody ever says that you have to get a car and that you have to get your undergrad paid for or grad school paid for. There's nowhere that it says that. And her wanting to go to school and become a doctor, there's a certain lifestyle that she wanted for herself, and that's wonderful. And that she's able to pass on to her children, that's wonderful. But at no time, at no place is it required for her to do. And to try and guilt her into, doing that, or saying she's not giving her best and her all, is really crazy. And that's what she said. Who's thinking about me? When do I get to retire? Because as long as I'm providing and paying for, seemingly, then I'm the all right mom. And when I tell you that I ain't doing it no more, now you got a problem with me. And so as she's walking out of the house, she says, I have given everything I got. And that's the truth. You have no idea what it took for her to get there. The sleepless nights, the sacrifices that she had to make, you have no idea. And to say, well, she did it, and so I should have some of it, it really is ungrateful. It really sounds ungrateful. And that's the only way that I can see it. And maybe perhaps she is who she is because she didn't have it, because she did have to work for it. And, if as the child, you're coming with more of your handout and not even a semblance of a plan, why would she trust that you're going to do anything different? That after you get out of law school, that you're not going to go, okay, well, if you just put me up, and provide, for another year or two, she could essentially then be carrying you for another 5 years while you sit and think about how to pay her back. Why don't you pay her back by showing that you're trying? Why don't you pay her back and go, you know what, mom, I'm gonna go to night school, or I'm gonna get a part-time job, so that I'm not spending $60,000, so that I at least have my money of my own, or that I'm gonna finance my own car. When does that happen? No, it doesn't happen. So I think we've come to a point that we're doing a little bit too much for our kids. The entitlement of our children. And I got to be honest, I'm looking at the future. I'm not hopeful about what's going to happen with these children that are supposed to take care of us. Mm-mm. Mm-mm-mm. It's not looking so good. And as parents, I think we have swung the pendulum a little too far to the left. There is one thing to want to give our children more than we had, but we can appreciate it because of our struggles. And there is something to be said for having to work for it. Where I'm at, it snows. These kids do not come outside and see about shoveling no snow because all of their needs and wants are met. Excuse me. And I'll tell you, I'm guilty of the same thing. I could give my daughter Monopoly money and send her to the store, and I think she would think it like this is what I pay with. She has no clue. No clue. Now, some of that, again, I wanted to be able to have my kids experience that, and that's wonderful and awesome. But there can be a point where we have gone too far. It's okay for kids to not have. It's okay for kids to hear no. It's okay for kids to have a little bit of struggle, because I think that it builds character. To work hard, I think, builds character. And so I'm with Simone. Now, Simone, you got to stop yelling, sis. You gotta stop yelling. You gotta stop yelling. I don't think they're able to really hear you, because I think once you start yelling, I think they shut down and their ears go off, and it goes in one ear and out the other. They're not paying you no attention. So I get that you feel like you're not heard, and it hurts. At the end of the day, what this is, I think that there's pain to know I'm struggling and I'm busting my behind, and yet who's concerned about me? And I totally get if you feel like you are not in real partnership with your spouse, and you feel like it's the three of them against you, I get that, that gets old real fast. And the fact that you've been together 30 years, you guys, 60,000, you should be having the best vacations of your life and not worrying about, paying your kids every, move, for everything, all of their whims and wants. Now, again, to be able to do it, that's amazing. And I love that. And I hope one day to be able to really show up and support my children. I had my kids very young, and so they ain't got that. They didn't have that growing up, and I aspire to be able to help. I'd like to be able to pay for, the weddings and the down payments on the houses if that's what they want, or to co-sign or buy the car. I would love to do that. Um but also they got to show that they are willing to do their part and put in the work that needs to be put in. um and that does Simone essentially has changed her generations, her that live on after her, that their son has his education all paid for and he ain't got student loans. That's amazing, and that is a step up. And if he can't see that, I think that that's unfortunate. And also, to compare ourselves to our white counterparts is not fair. And also, I don't care what they doing. We talking about what I'm doing over here. I don't care what our white counterparts are doing. I ain't got what they got. And even if I got what they got, I don't have the experience that maybe they've had. And maybe I don't have another, I don't know how much law school is going to cost. So are we talking like another all in $300,000? Maybe I ain't got that. And maybe I want that for myself. Maybe I want to buy some amazing things because I work hard and I should be able to have it. And maybe you should work hard and then you can have the things that you want and then you can give to your children, you know? So those were my big takeaways from Married to Medicine, episode 3. So drop down in the comments. Let me know. How do you feel? Should you give your kids everything? Do you think Simone should pay for grad school? And the other question is, do you think that wives are superior to girlfriends? And if so, tell me why. I'd love to hear from you. So that's been Relly Reviews, and that was Married to Medicine. Married to Medicine. So I hope to see you guys again soon. Bye.